The following production is brought to you by the Talkin' Buds Leaf Show.
Here we go, Talkin' Buds Leaf Show, episode 299. One episode away from 300. Hot off the heels of our most viewed episode ever on YouTube, our most listened to episode ever on audio. And here we are, an hour after MLSE CEO Keith Pelley releases a statement saying that they will not be renewing the contract of team president Brendan Shanahan. No surprise here. I think after Sunday night, this is what everyone thought was going to happen. Then the story came out yesterday that the New York Islanders are interested in speaking with Brendan Shanahan about their president role. Asked for permission to speak to him, even which the Leafs granted. And I don't think you'd be granting permission if you intended to keep him on as president. Just quickly, Ryan, off the top, your thoughts on the news that Brendan Shanahan will not be returning as president of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
It's not surprising at all. I think everyone knew it was coming. It was just when, if, who else. Not surprising. And it had to be done. Should have been done before, but hindsight 2020. It's done now. So let's move on to the next era of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But if you really do look back on his era of the Maple Leafs, what a disappointment.
Well, it's interesting. A couple things on that. I want to talk a little bit about it right now. At some point in the next week or so, we are going to do an episode that is a full-blown retrospective. Going through the timeline. Going through the timeline of the Shanaplan era.
Yeah.
So at some point in the next 7 days, we will be releasing that episode. Keith Pelley is going to be speaking tomorrow at 1:00. If anything earth-shattering comes out of that, we will jump on and react to it. I don't anticipate anything that we don't already know will be said. I think he's just going to thank Brendan and answer a few questions. A couple things on Twitter here. Chris Johnson tweeted out a few minutes ago that there is no change to GM Brad Treliving's status with the Leafs in the wake of Brendan Shanahan's departure. I know we're both happy to see that. In the last few days, there have been people who cover the team who have been alluding to maybe Treliving losing his job, saying things like there are changes that no one is expecting that might be coming, and I'm not sure Treliving is safe. And I think you and I are both happy to see that Brad will be likely sticking around.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's bullshit if he got fired, to be completely honest with you. I think it's absolute bullshit. This guy has nothing to do with how this all ended up or all the decisions that were made that were awful decisions that led him to this point. I mean, maybe he's had a questionable signing or two, but all this guy's done since he's been here is try to improve the team and has improved the team. So I think it would have been absolute bullshit shame if he gets fired out of this whole situation. He had nothing to do with the awful decisions that led up to this point.
100%. So you can go online and read the Leafs press release. It's pretty stock, but there's one line in there from Keith Pelley that caught my attention. It's, quote, "It was determined that a new voice was required to take the team to the next level. The franchise will be forever grateful for Brendan's contributions." The new voice line is very interesting because I think a lot of people just assume they'd be eliminating the president role and have Treliving report directly to Keith Pelley. That, to me, reads kind of like they might be in the hunt for a new president. I don't know. Maybe we'll find that out tomorrow. But interesting to say the least.
I think just for this franchise and just everything that comes with it, I'm not surprised that they would still be into having a president role opposed to a smaller market team who has a GM and it's like, why are we paying another guy a couple $1 million to do, I don't know what he does. But it doesn't surprise me that in this market, the appetite for ownership to still want a president is not shocking to me, but we'll see what happens.
Well, and that's a good way to transition. Like I said, we're going to do the full Shanny like retrospective at some point, but just I was thinking about it driving home from work. In my opinion, you can really break the Shanahan era down to two parts. I think given the way this team has fizzled out in the playoffs, particularly in the last 3-4 years since the blowing the 3-1 lead to the Montreal Canadiens, I think a lot of people look at it with sort of an angry lens and resent him for just sticking with these four guys and not wanting to move off that. But I think we need to remember where this franchise was when he first came in. It was in the darkest
fucking nightmare.
Yes.
A living hell. That's what it was for
in
10 years.
The darkest doldrums you can possibly imagine. Randy Carlyle into Peter Horachek, Dave Nonis, Phil Kessel going off the ice to pay for the pizza. Like just the darkest dark age. Bad. And he came in and he really cleaned house of all that nonsense and set this franchise on a better path. A way better path. We said it tongue in cheek in the last episode. He came in and he washed away the old logo even and restored them to the logo now we all know and love. He brought in Mike Babcock, which we all know what happened with Mike Babcock, but at the time that was seen as like a massive, massive get for them and restoring credibility to the franchise. He hired Lou Lamoriello. He did Legends Row. He repaired the relationships with a lot of ex-players, most notably Dave Keon, the whole honor, pride, and courage thing. He did a lot of great things in his first 3, 4, 5 years on the job here.
Yeah, I think overall as a culture, there's nothing to complain about in terms of just all the, I don't know, alumni stuff that ultimately really doesn't matter. But for such a franchise that is seen as such a big deal, it's important to have those, Montreal everyone always loves what Montreal does in the first night and all the grandeur and everything. And I think the Leafs were missing some of that and he restored that, which was great. But yeah, you're right. It is two eras. It's the era where you came in and it was an absolute disaster and you had to clean some stuff up and you hired a bunch of veteran guys. Babcock was seen as the best coach in the league. Lou is Lou. And it was kind of into this next generation. And then the second part of it is where the most pivotal part was when he decided to make a guy who has never done a job in his life the general manager and give him the keys. And that's the second part of this era.
I think if you could give him, I'd love to give him some truth serum and sit and ask him about that. Because if you remember, the Colorado Avalanche came calling about Kyle Dubas, and Brendan Shanahan prevented Kyle Dubas from interviewing with them. And I think after that, it was sort of a panic move to let Lou go and promote Kyle Dubas. And that was where it all sort of kind of came undone. That was when Dubas was in no position to be negotiating contracts with these seasoned player agents. He got absolutely worked in all of them.
Yep.
And that's when the whole culture started to change and these guys started getting paid as if they'd won Stanley Cups and they hadn't, and everything became different. And that's where there's been a lot of discussion since Sunday night about culture and what it's like to play here and how difficult it is to play here and the mean fans and the mean media. And I think that is something that has been fostered on Brendan Shanahan's watch. And there's been this sort of desire from the team that they really protect these guys. And I always say, you're not responsible for 1967 and the way they answer questions in the media and how coached up they are from a PR perspective. And it's really created this sort of adversarial relationship between the players and their fans. And when you look at Sunday night and you look at jerseys being thrown on the ice and beers being thrown on the ice, and the reason why that's happening is because the fans are having a difficult time. As time goes on here, we as a fan base are having a difficult time connecting to these players. And I think where that comes from is after you have efforts like these guys have had in the playoffs to come out after the game and say, and not take accountability, not say things like, man, we were awful tonight, and I was awful, and I need to be way better, and this town deserves way better, and it's unacceptable, and we're going to do everything we can to get it fixed. And it's really, you don't really need to say anything more than that. And these guys have refused to say it, and it's just been a mandate from the organization to protect them, never show weakness, just say the stock answers and get out of here. And as I said a few minutes ago, the frustration that you saw on Sunday night is a buildup of that. It's losing, but it's compounded with the attitude that comes after losing. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. And another thing I want to mention too, like don't lump us in with the 5% who take it too far and are jackasses and just do things over the top to get attention and try to be heroes. Like, as much as this team frustrates me and as much as these guys frustrate me, I'm not throwing beers or throwing my jersey on the ice. I'm moving on with my life because I'm a normal human being. And this is a fucking sport at the end of the day. So I think it's kind of bullshit when I hear like how Marner's been harassed and it's just like coating everyone with this blanket. And it's just like, no, you're talking about like the 1 to 5% of complete idiots who live in this city who just are not good human beings. So
yeah, and are not mentally stable.
I don't like being lumped in with that. But no, for the fans like us who've just showed up every single year and have spent all their time and energy into watching this team and supporting them and doing all the things, I think it's bullshit the way they act like it's like we're some huge problem. And then the Florida Panthers comments after they lost Game 7, like, oh my, that just poured gasoline all over the fire too. But I just, it's,
Ryan, you can't tell me that was not calculated by a team that knows they're going to have to play this Leaf team again and again and again in future years. These guys know exactly what they're doing. You cannot tell me that is not what motivated that.
Yeah. It's their fault. Okay. Like it's some of the fans are hard on you. And I'm sorry that those people have mental problems, but for people like us, it's like all we want to see is a bunch of mature guys who take accountability, who come out the next night and work hard and produce. If you actually, this is hilarious to me. If they actually produced in the playoffs, would this happen? Mm-hmm. Would this happen? No, It wouldn't.
Nope.
It's like, no, man, you just haven't produced. I'm sorry, you haven't. I understand that you get 100 points a season. That's great. But for a long time now, you just don't produce. And you get paid to produce and you don't produce. So in that sense, people are going to get pissed off. And plus, you don't come out and take accountability after the game. That's going to piss people off. Look what Draisaitl said in his media the other day. He's like, we love it. We love the pressure. Mm-hmm. We eat it up. We thrive off it. You know, these guys wilt under it. And it's their fault. They don't produce. I'm sorry.
If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. Mats, Wendell, Cujo, Dougie, Daryl, Lanny, Boria. How many cups?
Yeah, none.
0. And they're looked at, those guys don't have to buy dinner again for the rest of their lives in this town because they just went out there and played their absolute hardest and took accountability and showed pride in wearing the Toronto Maple Leaf. That's all this market requires. That's it. And to me, one of the greatest missteps of the Brendan Shanahan era is this bizarre sort of protectiveness that the organization cast over these players, and just the refusal to come out and say this isn't good enough by anybody. Yeah. Anybody. Nobody ever said it, and that is what created the discontent, and that is what ended up between that and just being way too loyal to these guys. Like I told you,
that is the perfect point. This is a good lesson in business, for any business, between loyalty and making the right business decisions. For some reason, Brendan Shanahan just sees these guys as his children. Like it's like the loyalty to Kyle Dubas and all these guys is just insane to me. Like this you ultimately you're running a business here, and it just seems like loyalty just really got in the way. Mm-hmm. Like he just it was like that he saw them as his children. That's basically the comparable I can make.
Yeah, and like I've said it 100 times on this podcast, I'll never forgive him for what he did after Kyle Dubas left. I'll never forgive him. Like he picked up the phone, He phoned his 4 sons.
Yeah.
He put his arms around them and he said, "You're not going anywhere." And he cut Treliving's nuts off before the ink was dry on Brad's contract. And I'm sorry, like that was just that right there. Just, it's so strange to me how Brendan Shanahan was a warrior of a hockey player. We talk about this all the time. And as he's gotten as an executive,
one of the greatest of all time in terms of just like all around toughness and skill and just like a badass.
Yeah. And as an executive, he
soft.
Soft in his old age.
Soft.
Like, soft as he's gotten older and been really soft on these guys.
Yeah.
So, like I said, next week we're going to do a whole retrospective on the Shanny era. We're going to go through the timeline. I've already started looking for audio clips that we're going to use. Had a few people reach out to me and ask why we didn't come on and do an episode after Locker Cleanout Day. I decided after they lost to Florida 2 years ago, I was done with that day. Nothing of note gets said that day. Just all the stuff. I always come out of that day more angry than when I go in. Yeah, and the only thing that I was mildly intrigued in was if Austin Matthews was going to give any details on what injury he was dealing with. He didn't. He chose not to disclose that, and then said something about how 4 months, I guess, with rest and relaxation, he should come back 100%, which opened up a bunch of other questions of, well, why didn't they shut you down for 4 months during the season? Why did you go and play the Four Nations face-off? Why did you do all that? So, again, like, so frustrating. Craig Berube, love the guy, thought he did a great job, but he sounded like a guy who's only been here a year, like just completely ignored the context of the previous years, which is like not terribly surprising, but also really frustrating.
Yeah.
And John Tavares, who just, I've had great conversations with Treliving and Berube. I'm looking to make a deal and come back. And it's like, oh my God. So that's why we didn't do it. There's nothing of note that comes out that day. Nothing.
No. It's just gonna be another pissing and moaning session, basically. I guess Matthew Nye saying that he wants to be here, and he kind of said that out loud was probably the only real positive out of the whole day, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Mitch Marner speaking very past tense and how he was answering questions. William Nylander taking his too cool for school shtick a little too far, in my opinion, by just kind of sloughing off how terrible Game 7 was. It's like, Willie, come on, man. Like,
you were off.
We get it. You're Mr. Cool guy, but
you were invisible.
Yes, come on. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here. And it's time for all the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays.
I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, or more? It's your call.
Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
All right, I wanted to touch a little bit on the two big free, unrestricted free agents, I should say, as we're like a month or so, just over a month away from free agency. Ryan, I'm starting to get a little nervous because I'm noticing a fair amount of people online now who, now that we're a few days away from Game 7, are starting to say things like, well, maybe they should try and make a play to keep Mitch Marner. Or no, my favorite one, the John Tavares one. If you get rid of John Tavares, who's going to replace his production? That one is driving me crazy. For the record, I don't think they should bring either one of these guys back. I just want to say one thing about Mitch Marner. I kind of teed off on him after Game 7 the other night. I was so frustrated with how he played in that series. Still am. But at the end of the day, I actually want to commend the guy because he's the only one that's got the balls right now to look at this situation and go, this isn't working. I think I'm going to head out. Yeah. Because we found out earlier in the year, the Leafs offered him a deal, which I think was $13.5 million, which he turned down. So they were ready. They were ready to hand him a contract extension and keep him here. And he's the one that was like, I'm going to wait and see how this plays out. And now, like I said, on locker cleanout day, he was very past tense in how he answered the questions. And I want to commend him because he's showing more stones than this organization has shown and is just saying, this isn't working. I think I'm going to head out.
Yeah. There's so much about this conversation about Mitch Marner. Okay. There's seeing people kind of throw the argument that look at UFA, there's nobody there. How are you going to replace 100 points? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. They're trying to think logical. Then there's the other people who are like, get this guy out of here. I can't stand him. He's garbage. What people need to understand is this is a really unique situation. Okay. This is a situation that doesn't happen very often in this league where you have an 100-point player at a point with a franchise that it's gone so bad that he has to leave. This rarely happens. 100-point players don't come up for free agency. They don't just walk for nothing. But I'm sorry, like you have to look at the situation. They can't run it back. I get Brock Nelson's the best guy out there, and you're not replacing Mitch Marner's 100 points. And Mitch Marner's the type of guy who will go to another team and help that team make the playoffs because he's a great regular season player. He gets 100 points a year. It's hard to replace that. I get it. But you have to realize it's unique. It's very unique, and you need to be okay with it. And you know what? Go look at the Florida Panthers regular season individual statistics. 50 points, 50 points, 57 points, 71. Yep. Like nobody on that team's getting 100 points, man. We have to look at what the problem is. And the problem is there's not enough depth on this team for when the guys who are at the top don't play well enough for the guys below to contribute because you just don't have enough wealth to spread out. So it sucks, but it's unique and you have to analyze the situation. You have to go, this guy has to go. He has to.
So the people who are saying this about Marner and Tavares and are trying to point out like, well, if they walk out the door, who's going to replace that production? That is disguised as a level-headed take. Those people are trying to disguise it as, well, I'm being level-headed and pointing out who's going to replace John Tavares' 74 points that he got this year. But it's not a level-headed take. It's emotional and it's fear-based.
Yeah, it's 100% fear-based. 100%.
These people are terrified of. First of all, I've said this about this market forever. You see this with the Blue Jays too. There are people in this fan base who get very, very emotionally attached to these players. And it gets to the point where I don't think they even care about winning or losing. They just want to watch their favorite guys every night and ride with Johnny because Johnny's my favorite. But like it's disguised as a level-headed take, and it's not. The Sam Bennett, John Tavares thing is such a perfect comparison because John Tavares this year had 74 points in the regular season. Sam Bennett had 51 points in the regular season. From a point production standpoint in the regular season, Sam Bennett is nowhere near as impactful as John Tavares is in the regular season. Nowhere close. In the playoffs, these two guys aren't even in the same fucking universe in terms of who impacts the game on a shift-to-shift basis more. And that's what you're looking for now because the proof is in the pudding, ladies and gentlemen. Big, flashy, point-producing guys, unless they show you that they can get it done when it counts in April, May, and June, I'm sorry. Like, I will take the guy who's grinding out 51 points in the regular season, who's going to go to war for you every single night in the playoffs, and those are the guys you have to go out and find, and those are the guys you win Stanley Cups with. And you're talking about how this is a really unique situation. It's 4 super skilled guys with the same disposition who, when they get into crunch time in the playoffs, are not able to elevate and fight through. The saying that I love is in the playoffs, you cannot go around someone. You have to go through someone. And none of these four guys want to go through anyone. They want to go left. They want to go right. They want to, like, they do not want to go through anybody. And that Brad Treliving, or if they hire a new president, or if Treliving becomes the president, or whatever happens, we'll find all this out in the coming days. You have to find players who you believe are going to perform. Look at the Florida Panthers, okay? We sat here like absolute goobs, and I mean the collective we, the Leafs Nation we, sat here. Look at us. We won the Atlantic Division. No, the Florida Panthers fucking gave you the Atlantic Division. They were like, you know what? We don't give a shit. We're going to rest all of our top guys, and we're just going to get in the playoffs. We don't care if we're on the road, at home, in Carolina, in Tampa, in New Jersey, in Toronto. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who we play. We know that if we have our full lineup intact, we can execute playoff hockey, and we are going to.
They don't even have their full lineup intact. Matthew Tkachuk can't even skate. Yeah. Like they're banged up and they're dummying teams. Like, I think the word disguise is like the perfect word to describe a lot of situations. It's just like we said, how do you get replaced 100 points? How do you get replaced 30 goals? Or like people are worried about maybe losing guys and maybe they'll dip down on the regular season production and they still got to make the playoffs. But I would rather focus. I would assume that with everybody they're bringing back, if you just minus Mitch Marner out of it, because I do think John Tavares will be a Maple Leaf. I just don't want it to be $7 million. I think that's ridiculous for a guy who has zero leverage. You give him a tap on the shoulder, you go, here's 3.5. If you don't want that, piss off. But assuming they bring everybody back, they still have a pretty good squad. You think Nylander and Matthews, and if Tavares comes back, and you got Anthony Stolarz again for another year, you think they're going to be in the mix here. So let's not focus our attention on what's happening in the regular season. Like, get over it. They'll figure it out. Matthew Nyes will get a couple more points next year. Maybe you can go get a couple more guys who can play on your third line who could produce a little bit more. Maybe you go and get another defenseman who could shut teams down a little bit better. Like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about what's happening in the regular season.
There's a lot of people worried about it.
You have to look at this as like a mini blow up. Like, I know they've made the playoffs every single year, and there's franchises who, like the Buffalo Sabres, would probably trade spots with the Leafs in 2 seconds. But that's just not the way it is. We're living in our reality as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. And it's almost like with all the statistics of losing in the Game 7, you can't win a Game 7. You've scored 3 goals in 25 games. Like, the most brutal statistics of all time. It's basically like a elevated version of a blow up. It's like you have to change the DNA of this team. You have to. I'm sorry. There's a lot of complications that come with it. It's going to be hard to replace skilled players, but you just can't go on with being 0-8 in Game 7. Like, you just can't go on. You can't. You have to move on. You have to.
And if you're still grasping at straws and saying at some point they're going to break through, guys, it's been 9 years. Like they're not breaking through.
How many times? It's like then again, it's like it's damaging at this point. Like, they don't feel good coming to the rink. The guys, his mental health is clearly not good. Like, he can't handle it. He can't handle the pressure. He can't produce in pressure. Like, so we don't have the right guys here. So
correct.
We got to make a move here, because I know we've made it to the second round twice, and that's great. And we get our little 1-round playoff series, but like, is that the goal at the end of the day here? Like, I don't think so.
I'm going to die on this hill. I'm going to reiterate it again. This idea, if you're someone who keeps repeatedly pointing out like point production, and you're saying, where are they going to replace this? You're disguising that as a level-headed take, and it's the complete opposite of a level-headed take. It is emotion, and it is fear, and it is afraid of change. To talk yourself into running this back one more time, you are a crazy person. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of great teams that have won who didn't have multiple 100-point guys. Like, look at the Bruins before Pasternak got there and started scoring. Like, who was their top point getter? You know, like you can be successful in this league. You don't need 3 100-point guys. Exactly. You can go and fill out your roster top to bottom with more depth, with different guys who do different things with different personalities, and have just as much success. It might not be as flash and dash, but look where Flash and Dash got you. Fucking nowhere.
100%. And I just think, just to hit on John Tavares one more time, I am not subscribed to the idea that you need to resign him. I know he wants to come back. I'm sorry. Like, we need to change the mix in that room. Two of you are under contract. Two of you aren't. The two of you that aren't have got to go. That, like, Marner's leaving willingly, but I'm sorry, John. Like, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. I'm sorry. Yeah. He was a fucking ghost in that Florida series.
Yeah, he did.
He's a ghost.
He's a ghost all play. No, he actually scored a couple. He scored one game and a couple goals. But yeah, he's not a winner. And he wasn't a winner in New York, and he's not a winner here. So
yeah. All right, buddy. Well, that was good to get on and sort of revisit that. Now here's Elliot Friedman reiterating that Brad Treliving is staying on as the Leafs general manager.
Good. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I haven't really heard anyone with that take of you got to get rid of Treliving. Like, what's the one bet? Like,
all the best things about their team this year were Treliving decisions.
He made some decisions in the first year that ultimately didn't pan out, but like looked pretty good on paper. Like Tyler Bertuzzi, the guy was awful, but on paper it was like the Leafs need a guy like Tyler Bertuzzi, so that's fine. Signing Ryan Reeves, everyone likes to bring up. I don't really care about that, but look what he did this past off season. He completely rebuilt the D-core in one off season, and he found their number one goaltender. Anthony Stolarz is their number one goaltender. He went out and actually got this team a number one goalie.
If you compare this D-core to, and again, we're going to go through it in the Shanny retrospective, but if you compare this D-core to the D-cores of the Kyle Dubas era, oh my God, it's not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. And that's another thing. When we talk about them coming back next year, their whole D-core is still intact.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of their team's still intact. Like, there's not a lot of guys, like Matthew Nyes is not going anywhere.
Yep.
Like, you look around their team, like, it's like, yeah, they're pretty much the exact same team coming back, minus everyone's favorite 100-point player,
who is not going to be. He cannot be. I know we're going to get out of here, but like, Mitch Marner is not going to be. Mitch Marner might go somewhere else and win a Stanley Cup. That's entirely possible, but it depends on where he goes. And if he does go somewhere and win a Stanley Cup, it will be being number 3 or 4 on the depth chart in that organization, not some guy who's driving the bus and is expected to be part of your.
Not the ticket he wants.
Yeah,
the ticket he wants. You're not being number 3 on any team. This guy needs to find the softest hockey market available. Go to Anaheim. Go to San Jose. Go to Utah. Like, I'm seeing Philly and Chicago. It's like, those aren't good fits.
Dude,
going to Philly is a brutal fit.
I was going to say, like, you're having a hard time with the Toronto fans. How do you think Philly's going to treat you?
Maybe Chicago's like so desperate that he would get a big grace period because they're in shambles, and I think anybody to try and spice up Bedard's game is enticing to them. But yeah, if he was smart, he'd be getting on a bird to Utah ASAP.
Yeah,
he'll be a star there, superstar. He'll have a great time.
Ryan, the San Jose Sharks in a couple of years are building a nucleus of good young players.
Yeah, they're going to be a good team. Same with Anaheim. Yeah. They're going to turn the corner. I'm sure they got some space to work with. They need to add another skill player. Look at the Carolina Hurricanes, man. Like, they can get themselves to this position every single year, and then in their brain, they're going to be like, we need someone who's going to help us score. And that's Mitch Marner. But I can't believe, but if they watched any playoff game, I don't think they would do that. But
you and I have spent way too much time on this podcast, this season in particular, glazing the Florida Panthers, but that team just goes in there. That team has like an emotional game 7 on Sunday night. They're doing all this media. They're doing whatever. They just fly into Carolina and shit pump the Carolina Hurricanes. That series is over. We're one game. They're up 1-0. It's over. If that series goes more than 5 games, I'll be shocked. There's 0%.
I think that's the only, like, if you're just going to be a hero, like, I think that's the only argument that anybody could make for this era of the Leafs. It's the Metro division is such a joke.
Yeah.
Like, what a joke of a division. Mm-hmm. Like, if going through the Atlantic is a really challenging thing to do. There are every teams, they go to the Stanley Cup final every year. Like, they're the best teams in the league, you know, but that's not an excuse, but look at Carolina play. It's like,
come on.
team's
I know.
like this team's not that. The Leafs are a better team than Carolina. Like Carolina plays a very tough style, and they just don't have it. So I mean, it's kind of bullshit watching it, but never got over the hump. You should have.
Nope. All right, we're going to get out of here. Like I said, if anything earth-shattering comes out of this Keith Pelly presser tomorrow, we'll be on as soon as we can to react to it. I don't anticipate that happening, but you never know. So we'll be back to react to it. And at some point within the next week, we are going to do a Talkin' Buds special presentation where we are going to go through the entire 11 years of the Brendan Shanahan era, sound bites and all. And so keep it alive. If you'd like to join us for that, hit the like and subscribe button below. Like I said, we are hot off the heels of our most viewed episode ever on YouTube and our most listened to ever on audio. If you're listening or watching, hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment. Leave a review. We had over 400 comments on our video the other day. 400. That is fantastic. Even all of you who came on there and just wanted to laugh, there's some Habs fans in there.
Some people who came in there to talk about Canadian politics.
Yeah.
Somehow Mark Carney is the reason why the Leafs lost this series.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But listen, your political views are yours. I'm not here to judge anybody, but amazing how you can relate that to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
One thing I will say about this era is I don't think we'd have I don't think our podcast would have gotten as far as it has now without
all this drama. There's no two ways about it. Yeah.
So in that way, I'm thankful for Brendan Shanahan and Mitch Marner and that whole gang for that.
100%. So one more time, if you're watching or listening and you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button below.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. We will see you guys in the next few days or maybe tomorrow. Who knows?